Hey guys, Austin back again with yet another long play video. This time we're going to be taking a look at Firepower 2000. Now, just a little while ago I did a casual overview of this game, and I played it and talked about it at the same time. However, this time, I complete the game. As you know, it's a long play, so I try to complete the game. I managed to do it without continuing. Actually, you can't continue in this game, so I beat the game in one go, as it's the only way you can. I do die a few times, but I don't think I die that often, so don't expect to see me, you know, dying around every corner. I think I do pretty well for the most part, and I made some stupid mistakes later on, which lead me to death, so... But, yeah, this initial run is about 30 minutes long, and if you'll notice, the video is actually a little bit longer than 30 minutes. It's maybe 45, 50 minutes. I don't remember exactly, but what happens is I beat the game with the Jeep, and then I decide to give it another go with the helicopter afterwards. And now the helicopter is a lot more difficult, in my opinion, to play as, and it's more like the hard or expert mode, if you ask me. The Jeep, it could still take a while to get used to it, and it could be a little tricky, but yeah, anyways, the commentary only lasts for the Jeep section, so I just wanted to get that out of the way. Now, we're actually getting right into the very first level, and there's something I want to note right off the bat when you start this game. The second you start to move immediately to the right, because there's going to be a power-up canister there, right there. And it's right at the very beginning. It gives you a few of your missile power-ups, which should help you out a little bit. Your rate of fire will increase big time compared to what it is stock. That's one of my biggest tips in this first level actually is make sure you get that initial power-up canister all the time. If you miss it, just reset the game because you're only like 2 seconds into the game anyways. So it makes things makes life a little bit easier. But yeah, for you guys that haven't played Firepower 2000 before, it's a vertical scrolling shoot 'em up, as you can see. With the Jeep, as I said in my casual video, it's a lot of fun because you could shoot in any direction. You can pretty much lock yourself into any direction, and you can basically strafe back and forth. And that really gives the game a kind of a unique feel, I suppose, and it gives you a lot of versatility in terms of you know, attacking enemies and you know, say if an enemy goes behind you or if he comes up from the bottom of the screen, well, no worries, because you can just point in the other direction and shoot right back at him. Whereas with the helicopter, you can only shoot straight forward, and you'll see that after the Jeep portion of this video. And unfortunately with the helicopter, you cannot shoot in any direction. You can only shoot straight forward. So, needless to say, it's much more difficult with the helicopter. My favorite shot in the game has to be the plasma, and right now you can see the plasma has a 3-way shot, and I believe it gets all the way up to a 5 or 6, maybe 7-way shot, so definitely the most useful weapon in the game if you ask me. It's not the most powerful, but it can get pretty powerful if you manage to hit if you manage to hit an enemy with all the bullets out at once. For instance, if you get up close enough to them and all 5 or 6 bullets are hitting them each time, it can be pretty powerful as well. It is definitely the most safe weapon in the game because you can pretty much just stand back from a distance and, you know, use its spread to just mow down multiple enemies at once, and it's very useful. Now, one thing that's kind of interesting, I don't know if this is like an optical illusion or something, but on my video stream right here, the plasma shot, it looks like it's multiple colors, like blue and orange. On my actual TV, it's just all one color, like blue, or like just like a very light blue to where it's almost light or white. It's very light white. So I don't know if that's going to actually come out in the actual video export, but just from the stock footage I got straight from the capture card, that's what it looks like right now, and it's kind of interesting because it's not what it looks like on my television. So As you'll notice here, you get these, there are these like sort of like star-looking icons that just spin around, and when you pick them up, they make a special noise. And what happens is they give you points, but they also add to, they also tally up at the end of each stage, and will give you massive bonus points. And it's really key to survival to pick these things up, because, well, if you're like me and you die a few times, and you don't get any continues in this game, you're going to need every life you can get in order to get through the game. Now, the game isn't super long. I think it's only like 5, maybe 6 stages. It could be 7, but I honestly don't remember the exact amount. I was just kind of blazing through this game. I wasn't really counting the levels, but every extra life helps a lot in this game. Because, again, you do not get continues in this game. It's you got to beat it in one sitting. Well, of course you gotta beat it in one sitting. That's the standard shooter fashion. I'm not even talking right, but no continues. You gotta beat it in one go. You can't, you know, if you die, it's game over. You gotta start back from the very beginning of the game. Now, it's not a huge problem because the game isn't super long. I mean, it's standard shooter fare, but and actually, this game is probably a little bit shorter than a lot of other Super Nintendo shoot-'em-ups. It's not quite as long as like Space Mega Force or even Super R-Type. Super R-Type is a relatively short game as well if you really know what you're doing, but it still takes longer to beat than I think this one does. So that's the first boss. He's not too bad. What you want to do is target the turret, the laser turret in the front, because you'll get points when you destroy it, I believe. And after that, you target the side arms, which they open up. And once they open, you can do some damage on them. And he'll blink. When the bosses blink in this game, you know you're doing damage. On just general enemies, they don't... There's no blinking or anything like that on regular enemies. The bullets just hit them. They make like a kind of a ticking sound. And when they make that sound, generally, that means you're hurting the enemies. But some enemies, I think there's 1 or 2 enemies in the game that still make that sound, but they don't die. They don't go down. So I don't know. If it's just like a universal sound they use for weapons, you know, hitting enemies, or. But most of the enemies you see in this game can be destroyed. No, it's actually, it's about the thunderstorm here right now, and I hear a lot of, well, just thunder in the background. So if you guys happen to hear anything, you know, just random background noise, some rumble, it's probably the outside. I'm pretty close to my window, so. And this condenser microphone I have picks up a lot of background noise and so forth. Like, if I kick my feet, you could probably have heard that, and you know, tap my desk, you'd hear that. It's so I have to actually be especially careful when I record these videos, because it picks up basically everything, even just like weird stuff I do with my mouth. Say if, like, you know, saliva's in my mouth and I swallow it, you know, like, you'll hear that in the mic, and sometimes I have to cut that stuff out because it picks everything up literally, and I actually don't like it like that, having to be extra careful when I'm recording. But I'm gonna try to get a different mic in the future, but this is the best one I have, so. So yeah, one of the things in this game is that they do repeat a lot of the same patterns over and over with enemies. However, it's not quite like, say, Darius Twin, where it's literally one pattern, then another pattern, and then it repeats it again and again. Ooh, that's strong lightning outside. It doesn't get that repetitive, but do expect a lot of familiar patterns in this game. But occasionally, every now and then, like you see in that path right there, there's like 2 little metal-looking feet things just walking across. You get the occasional mix-up like that, which, you know, helps keep it fresh. And then this part right here, I believe a ship's going to come up from the bottom of the screen sometime, and he's going to shoot out a bunch of little enemies. And so, yeah, unlike Darius Twin, where it gets extremely repetitive and monotonous, this game does mix it up a little bit. So the repetitive nature isn't nearly as noticeable. Now, one thing I wanted to also note, that if you haven't noticed yet, the Jeep, you can actually fly, or not fly, you can drive under flying enemies. I'm all sorts of dyslexic. I'm all sorts of dyslexic today, guys. Don't mind me. But, yeah, with the helicopter, it's just, I don't want to say absurdly difficult, but it's a lot more difficult because you don't have some, I don't know, you don't have some of the advantages that you do with the Jeep. For instance, you can't fly under enemies or go under enemies because you're on the same level as all the flying guys. So if you run into them, you die. You can't shoot in multiple directions, so if there's enemies behind you, you gotta play it old-fashioned and you have to, you gotta dodge. And sometimes it's not very easy to do, actually, because there's some enemies that literally purposely try to cut you off, and they'll come in long streams, and you'll actually see that later on in the video if you decide to stick around after the commentary portion. My commentary portion's only going to last for the Jeep portion, then I'm going to just cut it out, and then you can stick around if you want to watch the helicopter footage. But yeah, the helicopter is much more difficult. Like I said, you can't shoot in multiple directions. You got to actually dodge enemies, and it can get pretty chaotic and pretty difficult. So, especially when playing bosses like this, where, like this boss, you can only hurt him when the glass around him opens up. And with the helicopter, you know, it only gives you a few moments to actually hit him because, you know, when he first opens up, he shoots the laser, and it's very hard to hit him with the laser coming out, you know. And then after that, you only have just a quick second or two to you know, do some damage. So, very difficult with the helicopter. One of my goals is actually to eventually beat this game with the helicopter, and I might actually play that a little bit later today after doing this commentary. The game is actually still in my system. But one thing you'll notice me doing is using my special items a lot. The special items are denoted beneath your score bar. It's a variety of letters. The S is that power right there, sort of the fire wheel. H are homing missiles. They're relatively weak, not particularly useful, but the X's, they're basically the double straight ahead, you know, straight ahead shot missiles. They're actually really, really powerful, very powerful. And the reason I use these weapons is because you get an absurd amount of them, and you don't get any points deducted or anything for using them, and you don't really get any points extra just for having a bunch in your stock. It's not like Raiden or Raiden where, you know, it'll multiply like your amount of medals times your amount of bombs to give you just massive points at the end of each stage. Now, this game does multiply those icons you get as a end of stage bonus, which is why it's really important to pick those up if you're the score-oriented player, or if you just want to try to survive, you know, by getting as many extra lives as you can. So I use the special weapons I get quite a lot, actually, and some bosses are just a real pain in the ass, to be honest with you. And so, on this boss especially coming up, and you'll see why, I just pretty much pummel him with all the firepower I have, because he's really tough, and it's not exactly a well-designed boss if you ask me. There are some parts that are just, you're not going to be able to dodge it, period. Or there's going to be like a 1 out of 10 chance that you're going to actually be able to get through his firepower because of just how it acts. It's really, you'll see when I get there. We're at about the halfway point. And this is where your Jeep, you turn into a boat, which is kind of interesting. This is another way that the game mixes things up. In this segment, you go and you play as a boat. Later on in the game, I believe the next level, you actually turn into a jet, and it'll be just straight ahead shot mode, just like the helicopter. So they do manage to mix up the gameplay segments pretty well in this game. I think that's pretty cool, and it's one of the aspects that really lets it stand out compared to other Super Nintendo shoot-'em-ups. But this mode right here, when you're in the water, it's actually kind of annoying because when you turn, you don't turn as sharply and accurately as you do when you're the actual Jeep. When you try to say, if you're going left and you try to move to the right, the boat actually literally has to turn around. So you can't actually dodge entirely accurately like you could with just the Jeep. So that takes some getting used to. When you're at the boss especially, it gets really tricky because his firepower is very... his bullets that he shoots out are very close together, and if you just happen to get stuck at the corner of the screen, you're gonna have to get lucky to be able to dodge his shots. And again, you'll see what I mean in just a few minutes. Now, one thing I forgot to note is that you do get these shields throughout the game. They only last a short while, just a few seconds really, and they go away. Unfortunately, they do not stay with you regardless. Even if you don't get hit, they still disappear, so it's really only a few seconds that you have them. And one interesting thing though is that if you already have a shield, if you pick up another one, it'll act as a bomb, a screen clearing bomb. Everything will just pretty much get destroyed. Now, if you don't want to pick up a shield, if you keep shooting it, it'll also detonate like a bomb, and it'll clear the screen as well. So you can kind of use those to your advantage. They pop throughout the stages very often. There's probably at least 3, 4, maybe 5 shields per level. And here's the boss. That's his main attack right there. You've got these sort of little guys that just pop up out of the water and they start shooting at you, but he's got that really annoying ring pattern. And if you just happen to be in the wrong part of the screen, you're not going to be able to get around it. Like right there, that was kind of a close call. I was able to get in to the main opening. So what I'm doing here is using my special powers to destroy him, because I don't think I've ever gotten past that guy without dying, and if I have, it's just been because the big opening to the ring just happens to be there, like right where I am when he does his firepower, or when he does his main attack. So again, whoa, massive lightning out there. Now it's really starting to pour down here. It's pretty crazy. But yeah, I mean, so like I was saying, you don't get any multipliers or anything as far as I know for your special, like, massive attack weapons, the letters underneath your score bar. So I say use them to your advantage whenever you can, especially on difficult bosses. Now, there are a couple bosses in this game that it's not really necessary to use them. Like the very first boss, you can get through him very easily. The second boss is a little bit more tricky, especially if you're playing with the helicopters, so I prefer to use... oh, cheap death right there, I was stupid. I prefer to use my special firepower weapons on the second boss. It just makes it a little bit easier. That third boss, obviously you saw, I definitely recommend using them on him. And this next boss coming up, it's probably not entirely necessary either, but I use them anyways just to try to mow him down quicker. And you'll see what I mean by that. Is that this boss is actually sort of like a big battleship, if you will. And then at the end of the battleship, another sort of helicopter jet hybrid enemy comes out, which is the actual main boss. But and watch out for that that jet stream that will kill you, so be careful. And this is that's one of those instances actually, is like I was mentioning earlier, how you're oh, I died again, that was stupid. Where your bullets will make that ticking noise, you know, even though they are hitting something that you can't destroy. If your bullets hit the fire stream or the jet stream that comes out, it'll still make that noise, which is usually an indication that you can do damage to something. But in that case, I highly doubt you can destroy the jet stream. Now, watch out for that helicopter blade. Even though your bullets do not hit it, you will die if you run into it. So it's very misleading. Generally in this game, if your bullets don't hit it, you're fine to move over it. But those helicopter blades, stay away from them because you will die. So very misleading. And the first time I got to this level, I was like, why am I dying? I kept just disappearing out of nowhere, and you know, I realized that the blades hurt me. So again, I felt it was kind of misleading because everything else I can run into, my bullets will hit. For instance, this part right here, the bullets run into it, and you actually have to attack it and do damage to it. But the other ones on the battleship, nope. Your bullets just go straight through them. So again, just wait and then start attacking him. The laser weapon is just absurdly powerful in this game. So once you get powered up, I highly recommend using it on bosses. And the bosses will just go down like nothing. So again, I use my special weapons and he goes down pretty quickly. And I'm up to 10 lives. I have 10 lives. Now this level is kind of cool. It gets a little tricky actually. There's a lot of lava everywhere, and you cannot touch the lava when you're the Jeep. With the helicopter, obviously, it's no threat because you fly over it. I guess that's one benefit to having a helicopter. But yeah, you don't want to touch the lava. With the Jeep, you actually have to jump over it. And there are also some other like kind of mini platforming segments where you have to take like a platform across the lava, and it's kind of interesting while enemies are coming down at you. Now this level also introduces a new weapon. It's only in this level and the next level, and when you hit enemies with it, it kind of spreads out into another four-way shot. So I don't think it's particularly useful this late in the game. You're better off just using the plasma shot. I think it, you know, it probably would have been better if they just introduced that weapon early on in the game and maybe waited to introduce the plasma shot until this part of the game. Or they could have just had them all, you know, available from the get-go, because you can just scroll through your weapons in this game, which I forgot to mention. If you've never played this game, you can scroll through your weapons. So when you die a certain amount of times, you will lose the weapons that you have gotten, but you have to die quite a few times once they're fully powered up, though. Let's see. So a lot of enemies also shoot homing missiles and so forth, and I died. That was a stupid death too, very stupid. A lot of enemies shoot homing missiles in this game, which is another reason why the spread shot is so good, because sometimes it's hard to just hit them directly on. You can destroy the homing missiles, but the spread shot just makes it a whole lot easier. Alright, this is the boss. He's just basically a massive flamethrower, and you do have to watch out for the rocks being spewed out of the lava as well. And again, I'm just using the laser. It does a lot of damage. Now this guy takes a little bit longer to take down than some of the other bosses in the game for some odd reason. But again, he's pretty easy. I mean, just wherever he's pointing, just stay out of the way of where he's pointing, and then you'll be good. Not very difficult at all. There he is. He's dead already. Now I believe this next one is the last stage, and I think I might die another time or two, but I have 10 lives, so I think it would have been pretty bad if I lost all 10 lives on this stage. Yeah, this is the last level. Easy. It can be a little tricky though, like those sort of rotating spike razor blade things. They come out quite frequently in this stage, so you know, be careful, watch out for them. They do take longer to kill than the average enemy in this game. And what you just might have saw there was if you actually sit back and you get crushed Like, you can't actually get out of an area and the screen just pushes you back. In a normal game, you would typically die, but in this game, it just actually makes you invincible for a quick second, and it pushes you out for free. So that's one of the cool things about this game. If you get stuck with the Jeep, like, there's actually a couple instances in the first level where you can get stuck. If you decide to explore where some of the houses and buildings are, you'll actually get stuck and you'll get pushed back. But once the screen pretty much crushes you, or it would crush you in another game, it'll actually just push you out to a safe spot. So that's one of the cool things about this game. They're a little generous in that regards. I think that was a good design choice, because this game would have been, I think, a little more frustrating had that been against you. So now here you got to watch out for you're basically high up in the air in this segment, so you got to make sure you don't jump off the edge on the open parts. Now the rails with like the stripes on them, you can't actually run over those, but these open graded sort of platforms right here, you can fall off of them and die. So here's a jump, you gotta jump to survive. So it gets a little tricky. Pretty cool last level. I kind of wish there was a new theme song for this stage. It just basically uses the boss theme music from the game, and so it's kind of like, you know, the music doesn't really, like, you know, pump you up or anything like that, considering it's the final level and there's a lot of stuff going on. But still, it's still a pretty cool last level, you know, having to platform and stuff your way through. It's pretty neat. Now, with the helicopter, obviously you don't have to do that, because you just fly over everything. And this right here is actually the final boss, and all you have to do is just pummel him, destroy him pretty much, while, you know, attacking other enemies that come at you at the same time. And with this laser, he just goes down very, very quickly. I remember the very first time I got to this boss, it probably took me like 5 minutes to beat him. And that just seemed like a really long time, considering, you know, the whole game takes you 25 or 30 minutes to get through tops. And, but in this playthrough, he just goes down like almost immediately. He still takes a lot of hits, you know, considering, but yeah. What you do is, once you destroy him, that hole opens up, and a special item comes down, and what you have to do is use it and drop it into the hole, which basically destroys the guy. And boom, that's it. Game over. So that's basically it, guys. I mean, there's really not too much special to this game's ending. It just says basically, congratulations, yay, we owe you, here's some credits. There's not even any Indian music or anything like that. And yeah, that's it. Firepower 2000. That's the Jeep. What's going to happen is I'm going to enter my initials and so forth, and then I'm going to go ahead and start a new game with the helicopter. Now, I'm not going to do a commentary on the helicopter part. I'm just going to let this roll out, and if you want to watch the helicopter part, just continue watching. It is about another, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes or so of me playing. I really don't get all that far into the game. I think I get to the 3rd level, and I get my ass kicked by the 3rd level, because again, with the helicopter, you can't roll under the flying enemies, so it makes it a lot harder to avoid enemies and so forth. And there's a part in the 3rd level where it's just dual rows of these really fast flying ships. They fly down the screen, but then they cut to wherever you are in the screen. So for instance, if you're at the far left bottom of the screen, they'll come all the way down to the bottom of the screen and cut hard left to where you are. And you know, everyone that comes down does that. So when you can't shoot behind you, or you can't shoot to the right or up and right, it's really difficult, and you got to really sort of predict where they're coming from. It's quite challenging. So I do get my ass handed to me quite a bit at that part. So, and I pretty much game over. But anyways, guys, that's it. Thanks for watching. This is another long play by yours truly. If you're not subscribed to my channel, you know, feel free to subscribe. I have more of these kinds of videos on the way in the near future. And anyone else out there that's tuned in or listening, thanks for watching again, and I'll be back with, you know, the usual content soon. So, again, take it easy, guys. Have a good one.